As an artist, I think it's the most painful part of growth is realizing that you have to become a business person.
The first 2 years of starting Mudshark was, it was fun, it was exciting, we were doing this new thing, and then, as we started bringing on people and taking on these more jobs, it was, out of necessity that we needed to learn.
And you live day to day, week to week, hoping that it'll all, connect, not go under. Working on Excel sheets, doing profit and loss stuff, analyzing things is nails on a chalkboard to a ceramic person.
Increased and why certain material costs
I've been working with
increased.
Mudshark for about a year now, and I've worked with them here in the classroom where they've been engaging and generous and inquiring, and I've worked with them one-on-one in business advising sessions where they have been straight to the point about what they need and what they want to do and what their needs are.
Seeing all this work come in, we realized we needed to expand, we realized we needed loans. When we first went to the SBDC, it was to kind of ask them if we were sane. We were just asking the simple questions of, what does this line item mean, and is this a good number or a bad number? Because the numbers just got bigger, but doesn't mean they're good numbers.
Mudshark Studios is a classic example of how our programs are designed to meet people where they are. For example, they have been in business for a couple of years. They work very hard, got a great product, but they needed to grow because they were working long hours.
I think there was, in a way, a sense of desperation from us. We were being asked to do larger and larger projects. We had started hiring employees. We didn't really know how to manage the employees to even identify if what we were doing was profitable or losing us money.
We were able to talk with them, look at their results to date and say, clearly you want to grow, you need support from a bank. We can help you put together a package to apply for that loan and get it, which they did. You need to grow, you need to hire employees. We can help you learn how to hire employees, manage employees, delegate. That's what we did through our education program. And our business advising works specifically with what are you going to do this week, this month, this quarter, this year.
I think what made Mudshark reach out to the Small Business Development Center was the variety of services that they could receive from one organization. It created an environment where Mudshark could come to a center, a place where they knew that they could optimize their time, get their resources quickly, have high-level professionals who have been in business also understand what they were trying to do, how they were trying to get there, and most importantly, bring them the resources and support that would help them to do that. Our job is not to build businesses for our business owners, but to help them grow thriving businesses.
I was really naive to what I needed to know to be able to run this business, and through the SBDC, I've been able to learn what it takes to run a company.
They came in with a very short business plan draft that was pretty thin. Wasn't really telling the story that they needed to communicate to lenders. And we'd go through the business plan outline and we'd add sections that were missing, sections that would be important in terms of communicating their value proposition to the lender. And it became the story that it needed to be to communicate their vision, their value proposition, and all those points that we know lenders get excited about.
Well, this is Mudshark Studios' 350-page business plan. It lays out basically our goals for the last 6 months and for the next 6 months. And took Brett and I about 6 months of work to put all this together, all thanks to the Capital Access team.
We usually spend 200 to 250 hours that the client is going to take to write that plan, and we spend about 50 to 75 hours is editing it so that it's ready, polished, and ready to go in the bank. I can't tell you how many times I see a banker that when they walk in, the client has 60 seconds to make their pitch.
They had to learn how to present their case in writing because banks demand that. They hadn't done that before, but they're bright guys. We taught them how, they learned it, they did it. And yes, they had to buy a suit for the first time ever, but they're entrepreneurs. That's what entrepreneurs do. They're creative, they learn, they say, I can do that. That's not a problem. I can get a haircut, I can put a suit on. Doesn't mean I'm gonna wear it every day. But to get a substantial loan from a bank, Of course I can put a suit on. I think the important thing to realize about working with Portland Community College, the Climb Center, the Small Business Development Center in general, is that there are a ton of resources in Portland for entrepreneurs. And we are cooperating, working with all of them. They are our partners in helping grow small businesses in Oregon. So a small business person, an owner, can come to us and say, this is what I need, what's out there? And we can say, we can help you with this, but this organization over here can also help you with that. So we will help any client access all the resources in the city, regardless of whether or not they're actually in the Climb Center.
The budding small business, the growing small business, sometimes they don't know what they don't know. So our business advisors do. Because many of our business advisors have owned their own business. They're able to meet that entrepreneur where they are, listen to their dream, identify what is the missing component.
All you have to do is drive down any street today around Portland and look at all the empty spaces, places that have gone out of business. I'd venture to say that probably 80% of those folks never talked to a business advisor, sought other help because they thought that they had the only idea was out there. Doesn't mean your idea is not going to work. But just like for Chris and Brett, is coming from Colorado, is they had a basic idea. They just needed to know how to sell what they were making in their pots. And there's a good way to do it, the right way to do it. And right now, look where they're at.
Because of the recession, more and more individuals have decided to pursue that dream that they've been thinking about for a long time, which is developing their small business. And that's why organizations like the Climb Small Business Development Center are so important today. Because those are those entrepreneurs who want to build their businesses, they're coming to our center to do that. You know, I've been in this position now for many years, and what I found is it's that combination of long-term business advising plus long-term education, business education. That's what grows a thriving business, and I think that's what you see in the story of Mudshark.
The SBDC program at PCC is great because it's allowed us to kind of take control of our company and set realistic goals and be able to attain them.
Yeah, I recommend the services at the SBDC at the PCC Climb Center probably almost on a daily basis whenever I meet other young business owners that are trying to move forward, and kind of they look up to us and say, hey, wow, you guys have really done something. How did you do that? And I say, hey, it was the SBDC at the PCC Climb Center.